There we go.
Okay, we're live streaming and hopefully we are recording. Awesome.
Yes.
So let's continue working on the fork button Haml to view migration.
Yes. And okay, let me share my screen then. Share screen, whole screen, continue. You can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay, and now I have to fight with the zoom bar. Okay. Funny. Okay. So last time we left off having the button almost working because the button, the look of the button is correct because it's the same as it was before. What didn't really work was the enabled and disabled feature of the fork button. Yeah, mainly the forks button, because this has some logic that it's kind of intricate.
Right.
So basically we have the two buttons, the forks button and the number of active forks, and they have basically different functions, because the number of forks used to
Will that show you the list of forks?
exactly, and that's enabled only if the user can read the code, because otherwise the user doesn't have any access. So for example, if the project is private or protected and the user cannot have doesn't have access to that project.
Okay.
And the forks button has two different
I'm going to make a guess on that one, see if I'm right or not. I'm guessing that it's active if you don't already have a fork. No, actually, I give up. I was going to say active if you don't already have a fork, and clicking on it will go to the create a fork page. But I don't think that is going to be right.
Yeah, that's not really it. It's more like, let me hide. Okay, so we have, this is the old code, so the Haml code to manage the buttons. So this down here is the count, and it's pretty simple because it's count class is disabled if the user cannot read code, and that's fine. The other button, it's a link to the fork of the current user. So if the user has already forked the project and has access to only one fork, or rather only one forkable namespace, that button is a link to the user's fork. Otherwise, it's just a button to the new project fork. But that has some habilitation going on, because where was it? It was really trippy to try and understand what it. So the disable tooltip, there's two different ways that button can be disabled. So if the user cannot fork the project because it doesn't have permissions, or it cannot create the fork because the user already reached the forks limit.
Okay, you have reached your project limit.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to understand how that works. Can create fork. That's those the condition and the message look a bit what's the word I'm looking for? Not coincidental, but a bit not even optimistic, but the user can't create a fork. Surely there could be loads of reasons for that. Not only one reason, and that is that you have reached your project limit.
Probably, but I'm not going to argue that message. And so we have to recreate this behavior on the view component. So what I did is basically extract those 3 permissions. So can read code, can fork project, and can create fork.
Perfect.
And I'm passing that down to the view component because it doesn't, I'm not making any GraphQL call to get data or permissions and stuff because we already have everything from HAML, so it doesn't make sense to make another call to the.
And we want to try and rebuild this component as is first, right? And then start trying to improve it to cool.
Exactly. So now the main issue is how to wire this disable to the current logic. And me and Raymond spent at least 10 minutes trying with trial and error. So we have the can read code and can create fork permission in here. And are we missing something? Can read code, can create fork, and can fork project. Oh, I'm missing one. Maybe that's so can fork project. And this is missing from here as well. Can fork project. And am I passing it? Okay, I'm passing that down. So now we have those 3 conditions, and the fork button should be disabled when we cannot create fork, return when we cannot create a fork, or we cannot fork this project.
Would this be easier if it was fork button enabled? Or is it just me who has trouble with not something or not something else? And then not.
No, I also have troubles.
Because you're knotting all of these things and then you're knotting the function itself.
Yeah, we can do this. So fork button enabled when we can create the fork, and so we can create forks and we can fork this project.
You'll need to change that method name there on line 51.
Oh, yeah, true. Okay. And the can read code, also the user has to be able to read code to go to that, to be able to create the fork. Okay.
Where was the original code? No, Hamel.
Let me go back. This was it.
And which bit of code are we trying to replicate again here?
The disabled, because this is always enabled if the user has already forked the project and has only one forkable namespace. But we are not taking this into account. Already forked. Oh, okay. So I am passing to the view component two URLs, one to go to the user fork and one to create the new project fork. And that button is using the user fork URL if it's not null. So if the user already has a fork and only one. Let me make sure. So fork button URL is, yeah. If the user has a fork, this is the URL to use. And
Just
in
a bit
this
of pain.
case,
While you're there, do you want to change that to what do they call it, like the tertiary operator syntax? So it'd
oh,
be
you mean,
this dot user fork. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
so like,
Is it
like,
single? I'd say single question mark rather than double. Think.
single question mark, I have
I
to
think
do.
so.
Wouldn't it be question mark colon? Wait, no. Oh,
This way,
is
if
it
you
going to
want,
be?
That's
Is it going to be
yeah,
null
yeah.
or is it going to be an empty string?
that's not an issue
Does
because a Boolean,
the
a
ifs, yeah.
in JavaScript, an empty string, a null string, and an undefined string, they're all false.
Well, I was going to say if it was a null, you could do question mark. If not, then yeah, you have to do that. But I think you can get rid of that middle user fork URL, though, can't you? And just have question mark colon.
Like this?
Oh, I've not done that before.
I wonder if
No,
that.
because
No,
no,
you have to
that's
delete.
not.
Is that
Is
maybe a TypeScript thing or
Maybe. I'm
I'm
Googling that now.
I'm sure that's a C# thing that you've done there, isn't it, Marco? I
This-
don't know. Is that?
Script. Oh, come on. Oh, I cannot type.
Nope, you can't use that in JavaScript.
Okay. What about the or? Did you do or? No, because that would then return true. I don't know. Could you use or? I should really know. This is real basic JavaScript.
Yeah, but JavaScript is how can we?
I think double pipe would work as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
let's try
like
that.
this.
Yeah, let's give that a bash.
The thing is,
Like we all have a terminal of a console available in our browser. We can just test it there.
Yeah, because this is going to be a Boolean operator, so it's going to return true or false.
Yeah, empty string or hello returns hello, so that will work.
Oh.
Oh, you're saying okay. Yeah.
Nope. Okay, let's try.
Yep.
So we have another way that the fork button can be enabled, and that's when the user fork URL is not empty.
Right.
So we have or but we this is the so we have to
So what
double.
I would I would probably create one called has fork and then can fork, and then you can simplify fork button enabled to be can fork or has fork.
Yes, has fork.
Just breaking it down a tiny little bit, maybe.
So the user has fork if this is not null.
Yes, exactly. And then can fork.
And what are you going
Why is it
to?
not happy with that?
Oh,
Oh,
it's
I think it wants
yes.
you to do not equal to empty string.
no, I think the Boolean conversion thing might be okay, like what it said.
Probably.
No.
And then yeah, can fork will be what we previously had for fork button enabled. So the last three, yeah.
But we should also take into account, well, the thing is
Go on.
the read code and the user fork URL. Like, even if I have a fork URL, but I cannot read code, I shouldn't be able to.
Okay, pop that in to has fork as well then.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. So
And we might want to tweak the name a little bit, but
so user.
I mean, yeah.
Fork access. User can fork. So the fork button is enabled if this user has fork access or the user can fork.
Don't think that you need to call them like methods, do you?
Oh yeah, true.
The fork button is enabled. If they have fork access or they can fork. Shouldn't it be and they can fork? No, because they're two. Yeah, okay. I get it. Because the first one is they already have a fork, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, because the fork button isn't really a fork button. It's a go to fork or fork.
Create fork. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
okay.
Yes, that's the trippy thing that in the end I want to change about that button.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so let's try. The hard part is trying to try this stuff because we have to find. No, why am I here now? Oh, because this is already a fork. Okay, so this is and this is another fork. And another fork. So we have forks of forks of forks. Okay. So this is a link to the forks list, and that's good. And this is, I have access to more than one fork, so this is going to point me to the new fork page.
Well, it's not that you've got access to more than one fork, is it? It's that you've got access to more than one forkable namespace. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Subtle difference.
You're right. So let's try and simulate this user not having any fork and having access to only one forkable namespace. So user fork URL would be null. And we have the can read code, all the permissions. So this should point us to the list of forks, hopefully. Or is it? The URL is, no, this is going to be a link to the new fork URL. Oh,
I remember that error.
Yeah, my GDK is older than that fix, but I do have a stash with that fix.
Nice.
Or at least I should. No.
Do you want me to try and find it? Or?
Can you try and find it in the meantime? I'm
Yep,
the quickest. What's the quickest way to do this? This should be, I don't remember the full type. Or if you have a link to the MR.
It's not something like GraphQL types Boolean.
If you go into lib API,
Yeah.
helpers custom attribute. Yep.
Yes.
And then you change type Boolean to type : grape.
Yeah. :
API. : Boolean.
API all capital or
all capitals. Yes, sorry. Thank you. Okay. I think that should do it.
Yes, at least this one. There was another place, but yeah. And this is in integrations helper.
So why is this issue happening? Do we know?
So I wish I could remember more specifics about how it works, but it's something I want to say when you load the entire app, it has something slightly more contextual. So it loads the right, because you're already in Grape API, it loads the right Boolean. But when it's trying to hot reload something, for some reason it tries to pick the wrong Boolean. I know I've seen this with a number of issues, but it only kind of happens in the development environment, and you have to be more explicit. I'd almost call it like a fully qualified class name.
Is it worth making that change in an MR so it doesn't keep happening?
Yeah, that's been done. That's been done,
cool.
but Marco's just running an older version of GDK. So
yeah, do you have the other point where Stan fixed it because it's complaining in another place?
So you got API helpers, integration helpers.
Okay. Integration.
The second, that's it. And then the same sort of thing. This one's about line 240 something.
So I can change type Boolean to type all of this.
I'm not sure if they all need changing. I think maybe just one, but you could try changing them all.
Ooh. Let's give it a try. Yes. almost. Okay. So this is a link to the new fork button. Okay, perfect. Now let's try and simulate the user having access to only the right amount of forkable namespaces.
I think you're going to have fun adding recreation steps to this MR. Be like, log in as a user with this configuration. Log in.
Yes, this is going to be a nightmare to do that because there are so many different behavior
combinations of or permutations again.
Do we have unit tests for view components?
No, the test for the view.
Do we have do we have unit tests for view components? Because that'd be quite an easy view, unit.
I don't know if I'd call them unit tests as such. But yeah, we can test the state. But the thing that doesn't test is all the Ruby side of it, if that makes sense. So we might prefer to see if there's already some feature specs or create a few feature specs. But I always, when I'm reviewing MRs, I always like to do all the tests, or as many as possible manually as well. Mm-hmm. Actually test it through the UI.
Yep. So that's working because simulating the user having access to only one writable fork and having one fork, the URL is right because that's the URL to the user's fork.
Mm-hmm.
Now I want to simulate the user.
If they can't read code, they shouldn't be able to do either, should they? It should be disabled entirely.
Yeah, exactly. And the forks number should be also disabled. Yeah.
Makes me wonder whether, the button just doesn't appear at all. Or is it because it hasn't mounted yet?
No, it hasn't mounted.
Well, I would argue that maybe we should just not show the forks, but.
Well, it shows the number. That's not.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So this is.
I think maybe if you're not logged in, it doesn't show, does it? If you're not logged in, it hides the button entirely.
Yeah. One thing that we missed is the fork button tooltip, because that's different based on the reason why the user cannot create a fork. So that was no. Go back. This one. Come on. So you don't have permission if the user cannot fork the project. So and this should be the namespace ones in JavaScript are s__. I don't remember.
Yes.
And that's coming from.
Oh no, wait a minute. No, it's yeah, no, it is.
And do you also know the port?
Where it's coming from? Give me a couple of seconds. From /locale. That's the one.
Okay. So this, otherwise, if the can create fork, it's this one. Otherwise,
otherwise, I don't think there was a tooltip, was there?
yeah, I think so. I'm just going to make sure. Disable tooltip. Yeah, go to your fork.
Aren't we in the second set? Oh,
Yeah,
so
because
confusing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But even then, if the user doesn't have any fork, this will say go to your fork.
Right, so we're saying if they can fork it, they don't. Sorry, they can't
Because
fork it.
If the user has fork access, because this is inside the where is it? Inside the condition of already having forked the project. Otherwise, there's 2 tooltips and no tooltip if the user can create a new fork. So the tooltip is there only to go to your
only
fork.
If it's disabled.
Or only
no.
if it's.
That's really confusing. Disabled tooltip. That's not what it means though, right?
No, but it's the tooltip to show when the button is disabled. Because if you look here, the button class is disabled only if disable tooltip is not nil.
But then didn't you say that one of the descriptions is go to fork? But surely the button's not disabled if it says go to fork.
Exactly, because go to fork is only visible on the first part. So if the user has already forked the project and has access to less than 2 forkable namespaces.
Right, okay.
Having said that, if the user has access to a fork, we should return this one. Otherwise, by default, the user will see the button as a button to create a new fork. So create a new fork, and this is a new tooltip. And it's title. It's so confusing, this button.
That's what it's a little bit frustrating that we do really want to do this kind of recreate as is before we then improve it, because I feel like if we were approving it all as like in a single whatever, then we could definitely take some opportunities to simplify it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm missing something. The tooltip, is it a directive? Because it's showing with the browser built-in tooltip, not with the GitLab UI one.
Oh, do you have to use what's it
VGL
called?
tooltip.
Yeah, which is a GitLab UI thing that you need to import. And
Yeah, it's GL tooltip
that's
directive.
it. Yeah.
And I also have to add the directive.
Yeah.
And that should do it. Yes. Create new fork. And let's simulate the user.
Jumping ahead, I wonder, like, maybe I would change the button text, like when we go and do what we want to do. I don't know, so that rather than having to hover over it, it just does what it says on the tin rather than having to.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I would like this button to be a drop down to show the list of forks you have access to, and a button to show to create a new fork.
Yeah, yeah.
I do think, yeah, like you were saying, Lee, changing the text would be good, but I think you still have to try and keep it fairly concise.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because like
you don't want the button.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, reload. You can do it.
Come on, GDK. Hey.
Oh. This is disabled, and oh,
I wonder if when it's disabled, it won't display a tooltip.
Yeah,
you can't interact with it. Yeah.
Yep. This.
Should we have a look if Pajamas has got any guidelines or?
No, I haven't. Let's try. So components, button. One to use, one not to use, variant sizes, states. Oh. I'm sorry, I'll be right back.
No worries.
I wish I didn't know about that swag shop, Lee.
I must admit, I haven't been on there for a little while. I don't think that they've hugely changed it. I've still got quite a lot of old school. So like this one, it's the old logo, and
I thought that was the new logo. Oh no, no, it is the old one. Sorry, I thought that was the new one.
My water bottle that I got fairly recently. That my favorite thing about is that it's like a giant gong. It makes a brilliant noise when you walk in somewhere and you catch it on something. I
saw the teacup. I want the teacup.
So I like the colourful, like the old stuff used to be a lot more colourful, and they've kind of toned it down a little bit at the moment. So
they do have those, what is it, rainbow pride pin badge thingies?
Yeah, pins and stuff don't hugely. I'm trying to figure out how I can show you my laptop when my camera is on my laptop. I think I'm going to have to like try and take a photo, but I've stuck a GitLab logo over the Apple logo.
Oh yeah. One of those rainbow tanukis.
No, it's actually this one. I think is a new one. Let me see if I can. 1 second. See if that worked.
And I'm back.
Yeah. Nice.
It had to be quite a large Tanuki to cover the apple, but
So let's try and see tooltip. Tooltip. Button. Icon only buttons.
that's really annoying.
Nope.
I've actually found an issue for it, but the issue was automatically closed. I didn't think we were doing that anymore, but it's been closed if you think this bug still exists.
Oh, because it was open for so long.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're talking
and
about the tooltip not showing on disabled elements?
yeah.
Yeah.
It should be mentioned in the behavior or up a little bit, the appearance.
Yeah. When there isn't space.
If not,
If
we could do a quick MR to mention this.
we should have no space between remind place should never obscure the target element. It doesn't mention anything about the disabled stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I found a few issues which.
Can you open up the code for the GL tooltip in the pajamas repo?
We can try.
Isn't there a link from the pajamas documentation?
Good point.
Oh, that's page source.
Maybe right at the top? I don't. No, actually, do you know what? I don't know if there is one or not. Sorry.
Oh, view in pajamas toolkit UI. If you go back to the usage one again, and then just below that, view in pajamas, is that?
No,
Nope,
this is the
that's Figma.
Yeah. Well, we have the UI here.
I'm sure there used to be a link to it somewhere.
I think it's because pajamas isn't directly linked to GitLab UI, if you know what I mean. Like they're kind of same, but different.
Tooltip.
I saw somewhere they were talking about that there's a class has tooltip. So I don't know whether you can sort of like force that class onto the button or but there's a few links. We can do some research later.
We'll actually need to look at the button though, won't we?
Maybe the directive.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think it could.
Oh,
it comes directly from Bootstrap View. Interesting. So yeah. Bootstrap View tooltip disable button. Button to this. It looks like you maybe wrap the button in a span or something, and then you can put the tooltip on that. But then that might not work.
Oh yeah, tooltips for disabled elements must be triggered on a wrapper element,
which is not going to work because our button is actually split, right?
Yes.
But it's not just that though. It's the button. The GitLab button has the tooltip component inside it. So I mean, I guess we could make our own tooltip component rather than rely on the GL button.
Yes, but is it really worth it? Like
no. There'd definitely be a workaround somewhere, but I wouldn't let that Do you know what I mean? Is there anything else, or do we think it's now just down to writing tests?
No, I think it's down to writing tests right now.
Okay.
Yeah, the functionality should be the same. So yeah. I actually wonder if I have to also write a spec, not only for the view component, but for the, you know, the specs written in
The
Ruby.
Haml helper, yeah.
Yeah, the, what's it, the Capybara test, to make sure that the button has the right URL given the right conditions.
I think that'd be a good idea, like a feature spec, basically.
Yes, and that would also allow me to write the same spec and test it with the old and the new behavior to make sure they behave the same.
Yeah. And if you're lucky, probably won't be, but there might already be feature specs.
I doubt it. Let's try. If they exist, they should be.
What was the old button called? It wasn't called fork button, was it? Or
no, it was called. Was it called?
Is it called count badge? Or is that line 3
count
there?
badge.
Count badge button group. Because that's what I'm doing on the Stars one as well, I think.
Let's see if the specs.
I found
oh really?
There's fork button on project page, allows user to fork projects. But I don't think there's like an extensive set of specs for that fork button. I think there's just like maybe one for one specific scenario.
And where is that?
So if you look in spec features, fork spec.
Okay. Okay, so
but I think it's just like that one little bit, and then the other ones are a bit sort of less related. I think I'm going to jump now. I think the recording will probably continue, but I think the stream will probably stop. But I figure we're getting towards the end.
Yeah, I'm almost tempted to. We have found where some specs are, so we could.
We also know we need to write the view like so-called unit tests anyway, right? So that will be brand new. It's brand new components, so brand new. It takes a little while to do the boilerplate stuff, etc. But definitely try using some of our code suggestions, because I've found it's like proper like on crack at the moment. It's just unbelievable. So give it a try.
I don't think I have it enabled.
Make sure you've got GitLab workflow extension installed, and then I think you have to. Oh, you already logged it. It might be worth logging out and logging back in, because they've made some changes. But then it should do the trick. There's a little icon. I can't quite see it on your bar. I think it's next to live share, maybe. On your like status bar at the bottom of your screen. If you hover over it, it might tell you. I think it's that one.
That's small. Code
suggestions
are disabled.
I reckon if you log out and log back in, it might do the trick. But yeah, I'm going to jump now. Good to see you all, and we'll continue this maybe even tomorrow.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that. So if we stop it here now, I was thinking about getting it back at this tomorrow and move forward with the specs.
We'll just chip away. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
I was going to hang
awesome.
around. Tom, are you still around?
Hey, oh, yep, I'm still
Hey.
here.
Do you want to do some GDK debugging?
Yeah, I might share my terminal. In fact,
Cool.
maybe it's worked. I'm not sure.
Shall we stop the recording, or do you want to? You're okay to carry on?
I don't mind. That's fine.
Cool.
And I will stop sharing my screen.
Cool. Are you heading off as well, Marco?
I can hang on, but I'm going to hide myself because I'm going to prepare my note.
All right.
Uh,
Do you want to make
Am I
me the
still-
host? Oh, I am the host. Oh. Ali must have
Oh
done
yeah.
that. Okay.
How do I stop the screen share? Oh god.
Uh,
I have the same struggle with Zoom every time I
Oh.
need to stop a screen share.
oh no.
Yeah,
that's
and there's
better.
a big red button with stop screen share right next to the share screen button. So okay.
Do you want to share, Tom?
I'll be here in the background.
Cool. We'll yell when we need you.
Okay.
This is weird. It's asking me select a window or an application that you want to share. System window capture. Is that going to work? It's not giving me an option to select a screen, which is kind of weird. Give me 1 second.
Blame it on Zoom. Code suggestions are disabled. How do I enable code suggestions? Any luck?
Pardon?
Any luck?
No, this is kind of weird. I haven't seen this before. I sent you a screenshot of it, of what I'm seeing.
It's literally letting you share parts of Zoom.
So if I click one of them and click share, it then doesn't do anything beyond that.
Is there anything in advanced?
Computer audio, content from second camera, and video.
Mhm. Do you want to try and jump over into Discord and see if that works?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
All right. All right, Michael, we're going to cancel this and try Discord if you can hear us.